Recruiting is always in the air in the month of July. So, yeah, we had to drag back on Brian Smith, recruiting expert of Lockdown. We're going to talk Nick Marsh, Bredell Richardson, David Stone, of course, whole lot more. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked on Spartans listeners, thank you so much for tuning into today's show of Locked on Spartans. It is going to be a healthy dose of recruiting insider information because, yes, we got Brian Smith back on the program. Now, Brian, usually I'm a very nice host. You know, I'm cordial. I ask how you're doing, but we got to switch some things up here. Can you tell me how I should be doing as a Michigan State fan in the world of recruiting? Because, hey, Nick Marsh, four-star receiver, he commits. This is great, but also the two four-star linebackers out of California and Kamar Mothudi, Dylan Williams, they go to Oregon. How should I be feeling, Brian? It is nice to see you again, by the way, but how should I be feeling?
I think it's just kind of expected, to be honest. It's hard to get California kids to go to like Michigan, Ohio State sometimes struggle with that too. You're not alone there. But at the same time, I think it's also a trendy thing to talk about in general. When was the last time that MSU was consistently getting California kids?
Consistently, a loose term of that definition. Like we got one. No, I'm sorry. Ma Natiote was Nevada. Caden Hauser, we got him. Jalen Barberin. So that's at least two. So that's fun.
The point is, it's hard to get kids to come that far. Now, with the Pac-12 situation, I think it's smart for MSU. They're going to be playing out there at least once every 3 years, something like that. Why would you not recruit there? You're going to be scouting it anyway, because when you go out, that's what coaches do. So this is a long-term trend, and I like the effort. So good on them for doing that. And, hey, Nick Marsh can ball. I think that they did really well to get him. So I think overall it's pretty good to be a Spartan right now.
Hey, okay. Wow, that's good because we have, had a few blows here. I mean, Kamar Mothudi and Dylan Williams were the guys that were most recent in their commitments. No, that's not true. Dylan Williams committed a half hour before Nick Marsh did. So let's just talk about Nick Marsh. Let's keep the vibes high right here. We've talked, in the build-up to his commitment, and whether we are specifically talking about Nick Marsh or just broadly for Michigan State, like what can they do to get momentum on their side? You said they do need to win one of these battles. So really, just how important was that for Michigan State to win it over teams like Penn State, Kansas in the mix pit and all that stuff? How important was that win for Michigan State?
If you can't stretch the field and have a playmaker at wide receiver, you are dead in the water.
Fair enough.
Think about, look at it this way, just realistically. Last year's playoff game is one of the most important in history between Ohio State and Georgia. Why is that?
Sure.
Georgia just runs over people, right? Well, they got their butts kicked for much of that game, and they had to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart wants to throw the ball about as much as I want to be punched in the face. But that's what they had to do. If you can't throw, you're not winning. You got to score 40 in playoff games. You're not doing that old school, just pin and pull Michigan State. You got to throw it. So now they're going to have more balance. Having Anthony Carey and all that helps, but you got to have balance at the very least. So this is very important.
And we've talked so much about Nick Marsh, but let's go from one four-star wide receiver to another one because this is news that broke the other day from SpartanTailgate.com. There's an event called Spartan Dog Con. A bunch of alumni, a bunch of recruits, current players are going to be gathering for this now annual event. And would you look at that? Four-star wide receiver Bredell Richardson is coming up with good friend Scooter Carey, who, of course, is already commit to this class.
Right.
Now, I'm not too familiar with Bredell's game. I'm going to be honest. He didn't officially visit or anything in June, so this is a bit of a surprise. But, this kid lives in your backyard, basically, Brian. So what do you got for us on Bredell Richardson?
Well, considering I've known him for 3 years, I know a lot about him. He played for Cam Newton's 7-on-7 team. He was one of the kids that everybody identified when he was in 8th grade.
Okay.
He was one of those kids. He can play for any school in the country. And he's a take the ball off your head guy. He's, in my opinion, he's nationally top 3 in just ball skills in the back corner of the end zone. He's the one that makes the annoying catch. The defense coordinator says things they have to bleep out. He's that guy. And he's also a kid that is an extremely hard worker. I've been around him a lot. He's at a program I know well. He goes against competition on the 7-on-7 circuit that's good. Everywhere he competes, it's at a high level. So if Michigan State gets him to go with Marsh, now we're talking about, what Michigan has to do, what Ohio State has to do to adjust to Michigan State and not the other way around. The tables turn a little bit.
Who are the top players right now for Bredell Richardson? I'm sure it's not just Michigan State, as much as we'd love for that to be the case, but who else is after this really highly rated receiver?
His list has changed a gazillion times.
Okay.
Oregon, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Michigan. There's a flux. I haven't talked to him in the last couple of weeks. Notre Dame and Michigan, I know a bit, or Michigan State have been in contact with him recently. I would say Michigan State is trending the most, though, and Anthony and him are good buddies. They play at the same high school. I think Michigan State's in as good a spot as anybody. And again, this is a kid that can come in and play right away. So this is really important. Michigan State doesn't get kids like this out of Florida every day. Very important recruitment for the Spartans.
Is Nick Marsh a kid you think can just play right away in college? Because that was one of my talking points, is that I think that is maybe why he picked Michigan State, amongst other reasons. But is that a kid that you look at the tape and you're like, yeah, that's a day one contributor?
I think he could play at Alabama early.
Okay, fair. All right.
I'm not trying to just use hyperbole, but big, fast, good hands, hand-eye coordination. He's got all the skills you're looking for. It really just comes down to him learning the playbook wherever he goes to school, and he picked Michigan State. It's no different there. If you can get him the ball in a little skinny post or something basic, though, you don't have to coach him from there. Yeah. He'll take care of the rest. And that's what it really comes down to. Michigan State needed to start winning more battles outside the numbers. Yep. In the box, Michigan State's usually really good on offense and defense. Outside the box, I've been worried about them intermittently, at least over the last 20 years. And when they went against teams that could match their physicality, they struggled. This is how you get around it. You got to be able to throw it.
And let's just round out this first segment here on maybe not the most fun news for us Michigan State fans. It was Dylan Williams. It was Kamar Mothudi. They're good friends. They're also both 4-stars from California, both going to Oregon. Do you think both stick to their commitment? Because yes, there are multiple linebackers on the field at the same time, but I don't know. Should us State fans be holding out hope for a flip, perhaps? I know it's a fool's game, but hey, I'm feeling like a fool today. Any shot of that, you think?
Why wouldn't you? In today's world, why would you ever think that anything is guaranteed? Are you freaking kidding me? It's unbelievable how many times I've been fooled. It's insane. There are kids that I didn't think a school was in the top 3 for that commit out of the blue for another school. It's all over the country. There's not like any little pot. It's everywhere. So we're to the point where some of these kids are playing games with the media, releasing fake information, the whole nine. If a kid flips to Michigan State, I am not going to be surprised in the least.
Okay, you're coming out with so much good news here. This is a great Friday show. I'm just sending us all into the weekend with great vibes so far. But I do want to elaborate on the Dylan Williams thing because Greg Biggins, he's a 24/7 sports reporter. He commented on an Oregon message board, Oregon. I've been getting a lot of flack for how I pronounce Oregon lately. It's been brutal. It's been brutal in these YouTube comments, Brian. Let me tell you, this is not good. Anyway, Oregon. Dylan Williams, it seemed like a lot of positive smoke was blowing Michigan State's direction, and then it flipped very quickly to Oregon. And then Craig Biggins said that, sometimes a kid gives a silent commitment to both staffs, sleeps on it, and then commits the next day when he makes up his mind. Is that actually, I don't want to call it common, hey, 80% of kids do this, but is this a thing that you do see time and time again on the recruiting trail, or is it just no holds barred now at this point in this day and age?
Both.
Yeah. It's just crazy, man.
There's no way to put it in perspective other than to say this. With 17-year-olds, anything can happen. Yeah. And mom may have an influence on it. A grandparent, his high school coach, whatever. There's so many factors that play into each. They sometimes will literally, within the final 24 hours before announcing, flip multiple times. It is what it is. I only report the news. You guys can take that however you want, but people say, so-and-so's been this player's leader for 6 months. Really? This stuff changes daily a lot of the times. It's if people ever heard some of the backstories off the record with some of the kids I talked to on the sidelines, most I will never be able to publish, but it's hilarious because the truth and what's perceived Oh, it's not even the same stratosphere.
Perfect. Excellent. So, well, hey, 5 months until early signing day. A lot of time to flip, whatever. So, well, you know what? I will continue to be a dreamer. I will hold out hope. We got to talk to you about a guy that I'm contractually obligated to talk about every time you hop on this podcast.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Buckle up for the David Stone question. That's right. But first, need to talk everyone's ear off about eBay Motors. That's right. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. That's right. eBay's got you covered. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, my God, that's a lot of parts. You'll need to be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit at the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions. You got that right, Buster. They apply. All right, Brian. So off camera here is a firing squad ready to 86 me if I do not ask about David Stone whenever I have a conversation with you. So here it comes. Hey, David Stone, 5-star, top 10 player in the country. Yes, he's thinking about Oklahoma, Florida, Miami, Michigan State, maybe just straight to the NFL. I got no idea, but I don't suppose you have an update on this kid?
He's going to go to Oklahoma. He's going to go to Oklahoma.
No. Okay. Okay. I thought so, but I just, better to know now than when it finally happens,
Barring something unforeseen anyway, it's going to be Oklahoma.
Yeah, I figured. It just seemed like the love around Michigan State was just a little too much, a little too good to be true, so.
It is what it is, brother. I only report the news. Once again, that's just bottom line.
Again, hey.
Call me what you will, but I am an honest man.
That's all we need you to be, is just an honest man. I mean, that's all we need. You know what? Let's see if this tone of this segment is going to continue, because we got an A+ question. This is from Ray Ray. Now, Ray Ray always submits great question. This guy might as well be a co-producer of this show. Sync Jewel is another guy that asks great questions. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com if you ever want to reach out. I can't think of a better question to ask you, the recruiting expert here. Number one from Ray Ray: compared to Illinois, Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska, Maryland, and Rutgers, how well is MSU recruiting and improving as a program? Number two, put your green-bloodedness aside. Of course, he's talking to me, not you. Do you personally and objectively think MSU is better than those teams as of right now? And then he also asked, hey, do you sell Locked On Spartans merch or gift to your local fan base, or no, loyal fan base? I'll let you answer either the recruiting question or the merchandise question, Brian. My answer is no, unfortunately, we don't, but I'll see what I can do. Now, for the first part of that question, it's a really good question from Ray Ray, because, look, we're giving our coach the salary of a really, really good program. So we compare ourselves to other really, really good programs. That's where we want to be. We sniffed it in 2021 with a Peach Bowl win. But God, I guess it is important to make sure that you could walk with those programs before you could run with the big dogs. So Brian, should I take my headphones out? Do I want to hear your answer to this question, or what do you got for us as compared to the bottom of the Big Ten?
My only concern, and I don't know this person, is why in the world would you compare Michigan State to Rutgers? For the love of God, man.
I get it. Hey, I'm one of these people. Just to make sure, you got to cover all bases. I side with Ray Ray. That's
You guys are just half dead out there. I mean, if you're worried about Rutgers, what do you say when I say let's talk Michigan State? Then you should just be petrified.
I worry about all 13 teams in the Big Ten. It's fine, or soon to be 15 other teams. Yeah.
Look, Michigan State's recruiting above those programs. Wisconsin and Iowa, there's all these different programs kind of muddled. The only one that I'm really curious about that he mentioned is Nebraska. They hired a real coach. Yeah. Rule is a freaking really good coach. However, it's year one and they're going to stink. It's just part of rebuilding. And two, it's a hell of a lot harder now to recruit to Nebraska than 20 years ago. So it's just a different climate. Out of those teams, I would rank program stability as Michigan State 1, but they do have some weird things going on. They lost their quarterback it's bizarre. Sure. So that's recruiting. I'm not as concerned about as I am roster management stuff. And part of it's not even Like, I don't know what you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
His era. So if they figure, this is a big assumption. If they figure out quarterback this year and go 7-5, 8-4, whatever, they'll be okay. But for the love of mankind, can somebody explain to me why the quarterback left and make it logical?
I could actually do that if you want me to. Yeah. Do you want me to answer that question or no?
Let's because I don't know the answer to that. I was like, what? He's going to all. Yeah. That's a weird fit.
My thing is, like, he was a starter for 2 years, all right, and then he goes into this offseason where, hey, Mr. Third-year starter, we're actually going to have you in a quarterback battle, and oh, by the way, it seems like 70% of this fan base is openly rooting against you to lose this. And then here's Auburn, a team that needs a quarterback. They're coming up being like, hey, it's me, the sexy SEC school. We're going to talk about how pretty you are when you come down here. The fan base is going to love you. You're going to have a fresh start. Why'd you come down to Auburn? And, well, I think it was just – I'm sure there was NIL that sweetened the deal. But, again, in this day and age, that is not an excuse. Like, that just can't be. So I think it was just a human behavior thing of like, duke it out for a starting role for a fan base that really doesn't care about me anymore. Or, hey, let's see how green that grass is down to SEC country. That's what I think. There are some people that think like, oh, he went into the offseason knowing that he didn't have that starting position, like just completely locked in. I don't necessarily think that, but hey, everyone's free to their own opinion. But that's how I read the situation with one Peyton Thorne, at least. So.
Okay, well, that helps because it was just odd. I mean, I just thought he was going to be the quarterback. I looked up one day and he's transferred. I'm like, oh, didn't see that coming. So, yeah, that's the more important part of recruiting that people don't realize. Like, you can put recruiting rankings anywhere, David Stone or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you don't have quarterback play,
it's hard.
It's over.
It's a little difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Nick Saban just went to the transfer portal for a quarterback.
I know.
That's right. That just it's hard, man. Like running up. If Nick Saban's struggling out of position, it can happen to any program. So college football is hard, man. You're going to hit walls sometimes. And speaking of Michigan State, who is going to be Michigan State starter this year? And do you believe in them? That's the bigger of the two questions. Mm-hmm. Let's hear it, man. Here's your 30 seconds to pump up the fan base. Let's hear it.
Oh, blindly, I'm going to believe in whoever it is. You know, whether it is Noah Kidd, whether it is Caden Hauser, Brian, we are blindly walking into the fire here. No, I do have faith that either quarterback can be adequate and not be that big of a drop off from Peyton Thorne. And this is something that I may have talked about 50 times here. So I apologize to everyone if this is your 100th time hearing it, but when Peyton Thorne left, there wasn't a mad scramble to try to find another quarterback. It's not like they were pulling every alarm in the building and calling every single transfer in the portal. Like, they saw Peyton Thorne left, and it was like, okay, well, Noah and Caden are here. They're going to be adequate. I don't think the drop-off is going to be that big. Now, I mean, what if you're just the same guy that Peyton Thorne was last year? Like, okay, are we doomed for another 5-7 season? Are we doomed for 6-6? Like, that's going to be the real interesting part is like how they are going to balance it. But yeah, whoever takes a snap week 1 against Central Michigan, like, you're like, yeah, hell yeah, actually. Like, yeah, this is our guy. We're going to ride into it with him. So, look, whether that's just smart thinking or whether I'm just coping right now, I don't even know that. So I like to think, though, that I genuinely believe this, that it's going to be okay. Well, Did I sell you?
I'm leaning that way, but I don't know about.
Right. Okay.
The reason I honestly ask is the following: I get asked this on all kinds of podcasts. What do we have to do on the field this year? Insert school names.
Yes, right.
To increase the recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And if your quarterback lays an egg this year, I'll go ahead and answer future questions for you. The answer is no. The answer is no. Are we getting X, Y, and Z? The answer will be no. You're not getting like kids from Long Beach Poly, Williams. You're not getting those kids if you go 5-7 this year. You know it, and I know it. Fans know it, and that's why I'm worried. Because if quarterback doesn't work out for Michigan State, and you ask me about David Stone again, I'm putting a hit out on you. Okay, I mean, because I mean, you still.
I'm going to do it anyway. I am going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you no, but it's impossible when you're losing. You're not getting 5-star kids. And, maybe a kid that's like in your backyard. Like we'll talk about Bryce Underwood at some point, stuff like that. That's fine. He's down the road. But out-of-state kids especially, it's not happening, bro. It's not. This is a huge year for them recruiting-wise, but it starts on the field.
And like, I'll just say that the quiet part out loud, something that I've been thinking about, having like vocalized, and I'm sorry to keep on going back to these kids, Dylan Williams and Kamar Mothudi, but yeah, like, could they flip? Of course they can, but God, like, Michigan State has a top 5 hardest schedule in conference play. Yes, there are things about this team I do feel really good about, but there are some question marks, like the quarterback we just talked about. Let's say you are going 6-6. Like, is Kamar Mothudi really going to flip to a team that, hey, we're in the Pizza Bowl going on over in Kalamazoo, Michigan? Like, or are they just going to flip to a Washington? Are they going to stick with an Oregon? Like that's the thing I am worried about. It's like, yeah, sure, they could flip, but guys, it could be a tough season coming up here. So it's trying to stay upbeat, trying to stay positive, but I also am trying to stay based in reality here is like, yeah, that's why I don't want to hold out too much hope that, hey, a kid can flip here because, oh boy, we could be in late November and the boys are 5-5 going into the last 2 weeks here. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. And I'm sure you're familiar with Phil Steele and his magazine.
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
He's got like 9 different trends for, predictions and rankings. One of the most interesting ones is one that's been around forever. Turnovers, close games, etc. Historically, Michigan State has been a muck-it-up team, and they play a lot of close games. Again, this goes back to quarterback. If they're going to get over that hump, Wisconsin, Iowa, even like Northwestern and Michigan State always play games that are annoying to watch. They're close. They have to have some of that. Give me hope that Michigan State, beyond quarterback, is going to be able to win those battles this year. You tell me why, and then I will tell you why recruits would want to come play, if you can sell me on that.
The thing on the highest on is the trench play on both sides. Like, this is the first time in a long time that, yes, we do have a good offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be like top 3 in the conference, but look, they are finally deep this year. Like, we actually have guys behind our starters that can play adequately. I believe, at least they're going to be of
God
the age
forbid.
and everything like that. I know, crazy, right? And then I do like to think that we won't have 27 different starters on defense this year because of injury, but it was Brian. This is why I drink. The front 6, I believe, will be strong. Jacoby Windman, Cal Halliday, the names that all State fans know about, and then the inside as well. Tumasi Adelaide, he transferred to Texas A&M. I think the trenches will be solid this year, good this year. I mean, will they be, elite in the nation? No, but they are trending in the right direction. I think defense could be top 3rd of the Big Ten, and then the offensive line, I'm feeling good about. I knock on wood, but that's what
it should be, though. Like O-line at
correct.
Michigan. If O-line's bad at Michigan State, I can answer the question for this one. Are they going to be good this year? No. That's
the last 7 years of right. That's been the last 7 years of Michigan State. Is just like the offensive line is meh. But hey, 1 year you have Kenneth Walker coming to save the day, so that really helps. But no, as a whole, it has been a while since we've seen strong offensive line play. But I do feel like anchored with Nick Samak, JD Duplain, guys that have been here for 11 years and have been all conference honorable mentions. But the guys behind them as well, under the coaching of Coach Kapilovic, who is known as a top offensive line coach, and we're really going to see how true that is this year. I am high on that. So I've watched enough football, obviously, especially the last few years, to really understand how important trench play is. Like, once you know as a fan how important that is, it just gets
it's important,
more ingrained in your brain year after year. So the trench game is why I'm holding out hope for this season. And the secondary will probably have more than 2 interceptions this year too. Just on luck alone, they got to have more than 2 interceptions this year, unlike last year.
Well, that's one of the things I was talking about, like trends. For whatever reason, the pendulum will swing. Turnover, injury.
I know.
Like the injuries Michigan State had last year, it was like, come on, really? Really?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, right.
I mean, at some point, I'm eligible. I mean, if you give me a helmet, I mean, it's possible,
I can try my best, yeah.
It may not work well, but at least I would be a body. But anyhow, they should have some luck, turnovers, injuries. The quarterback thing, obviously, we got to wait and see. Trench play should be better. I think they're the kind of sleepy pick in the Big Ten East. Maybe I'm wrong, but to at least finish in the top 3 and beat one of Michigan, or Penn State and Ohio State. They're going to beat one of those 3. I have no idea why, but that's my pick. Hold me accountable if they lose one of those. I don't care. I mean, throw things at me, whatever. Sure. But Michigan State historically has done that too. So, you know about helping recruiting. If they beat the Buckeyes,
Oh my God! I wouldn't be around to see signing day. I would just explode spontaneously. But yeah, I'm sure it'd be a great class if they were to beat the Buckeyes in the horseshoe this year.
That's
right.
going to help your cause. But they need something like that for recruiting to honestly, no hyperbole, to take another step.
Right.
It's got to be cool to go there. Give them reason.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. But before we let you go and enjoy, the upcoming week and everything, I'm not going to name names. It'd be terrible to throw a kid under the bus like this, especially one I'm very excited to see play next year. But there's a recent 4-star receiver out of the city of Detroit that committed to our Spartans. It was great. The ceremony started, I believe, at 5:00. And then the superintendent talked, then the high school coach talked, and like every single person in this district talked. The commitment finally came at 5:35. So 35 minutes from the start of the ceremony to the end of it. Brian, in your time, what's the longest ceremony that you've seen for a kid's commitment? Again, I'm very excited for this kid to come here. Please don't take this the wrong way. But with that said, wow, that took a while. That took a while. Have you seen one beat 35 minutes?
Most of them, they let the kids talk after 2 or 3 minutes. What the hell's going on in Detroit?
It was unbelievable. they had every teacher from kindergarten to his upcoming senior year talk. It was banana land. But hey, big day for the kid. Let's not miss that.
I'm just going to mess with watching the film and stuff. I'll just stick to that, bro.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, we're going to punt on that. Again, hey, very excited for this kid to come here. Who am I talking about? I'll let you guys figure that out. But Brian, this is always great having you on, man. I absolutely love talking with you. I know the listeners and the viewers do for sure. These are always one of our highest rated episodes because, look, in the middle of the summer, people cannot get enough of recruiting, especially when there's a lot of great news going on at Michigan State and maybe not so great news. But hey, sounds like the things are
they're headed in the right direction.
Okay, we'll take that. I like that. Hey, thanks a lot, Brian. You're the man. I'll always appreciate talking to you.
Absolutely.
And gang, hey, enjoy the upcoming weekend. Stay safe. Love you all. Go Green.